Hello, this is Name Your Game, a video game podcast brought to you by SharcTank.com. Each episode, we have a new guest with us so we can talk about their favorite games from the past and present. So I'm Dane.
I'm Tim. And this episode, we have with us a guy that I met at PAX, where he was demoing his successfully kickstarted card game called These French Fries Are Terrible Hot Dogs. It was so much fun. I grabbed his card and I checked out his website and found out that he also makes video games. So I thought we gotta have him on our show. It's Shawn Pierre. How's it going, Shawn?
It's going well. How's everyone doing tonight?
We're doing pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well.
Yeah, so we might as well jump right into it like we usually do.
Yeah, let's do it. So Shawn, what is your favorite video game of all time?
One game that I love enough to rebuy on multiple consoles is probably Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh, okay, Metal Gear Solid 3 specifically, so Snake Eater?
Yeah, Snake Eater, yeah. I love Snake Eater. I mean, I felt like out of all the Metal Gear Solids, it had the strongest story, it had the most character, and everything was just developed in such a smooth way. In comparison, I mean, 4 and 2 and 1, they're not without their charm, but 3 really stands out.
So a big confession for Tim and I is that we haven't played too many games in the Metal Gear Solid series, 3 included. I personally know a lot about 3, and I've heard a lot of people pretty much say what you just said about it, so I know for a fact that it must be really great. One day I'm gonna go back and play all the games pretty much, 1 through 4, sure. Probably 5 too, because it'll be out when this happens. I'm sure.
6 will be out too.
6, yeah, and maybe 7 we can go on forever. But yeah, 3. I remember actually when 3 was in development, and I heard that this didn't end up actually becoming a really big feature of the game. It's something that you could kind of do if you wanted to, but it wasn't important. But I saw that you could like skin the animals and then wear their skins, and I thought that just looked like the coolest thing ever, like wearing the crocodile skin on Snake and sneaking around in the jungle. And that's just something that I remember pretty specifically when I saw that the game was in development. I thought that looks so different from the first 2.
So a couple of our previous guests have said Metal Gear Solid, the first one, as their favorite game of all time, or at least up there. So what about 3 really sets it apart from the others?
Well, first off, I think the story, in my opinion, while it might have been a bit cheesy, I mean, I guess I'm a cheesy type of person, but I felt like it was a bit more cohesive. I mean, it did answer a lot of questions that you might have encountered after playing Metal Gear Solid 1 or Metal Gear Solid 2. So the story I thought was great. The gameplay, it changed things up, and you still had to sneak around and be tactical in a more open environment.
Yeah.
The game was much more open in general, too. There were multiple ways to beat all of the bosses, or most of the bosses. So you weren't tied or locked into beating a boss a specific way, and they were actually creative. There's, well, I shouldn't spoil anything. But,
sure.
Yeah. It has one of the best boss battles, I think, that I've played in a long time. It's not spoiler, but it's versus the end. And there are some actually really neat Easter eggs in the game, depending on how you go about facing the end. So I just felt like overall it was one of the most creative games overall, most fleshed out. Again, a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of things that just give it charm, things that Metal Gear Solid 1 didn't have because it was trying to be a very, very serious game. And while Metal Gear Solid 3 was serious, it had its share of relaxed, comical moments, something that 4 didn't have, despite it being a big swan song for the main character, or Solid Snake.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I heard that 4 was really ridiculous, not comically ridiculous, or
maybe was it like just over the top ridiculous?
Oh, like... yeah, it was things, of course, blowing up left and right. And,
like Expendables over the top.
Yeah, there was a lot of fan service, a lot of fan service.
Sure.
I mean, they are wrapping up. I think the first Metal Gear actually came out in, what, 96 or 97? Or even, 86 or 87 or 85, I forget the exact year. But it's a story that spans a lot of years, a lot of years. So anyone who started with the series way back then, they finally got to see Solid Snake in his final game. Sure. So, I mean, they had to tease a lot of people and throw in, again, a lot of fan service, and a lot of people have to find a happy ending. I mean, the whole series has always been a bit cheesy, but some of the things that happened in 4, I guess they didn't sit right with me, but
okay.
Maybe I'm just being picky. I don't know.
No, I mean, that's how you can react to it however you want to, for sure. Yeah. And it sounds fair, definitely. Your outlook on it.
Also, because you love 3 so much, the bar was raised a little bit with 3, maybe?
Oh,
so
yeah,
maybe
definitely.
4 was a...
Yeah, that would make sense too, for sure.
Well, I got a question. You know, obviously you like the Metal Gear Solid series. Did you ever play like Revengeance or any of the spin-off games?
So I have Revengeance because I saw it on sale on Amazon, so I decided to pick it up, which is not the greatest habit. I did that also with I did it with Resident Evil 6, despite what I heard about it.
Sure.
But I figured it was a $10 game at least. I haven't played it yet. But I have Revengeance. I haven't played it yet. I'm going through a really big backlog of games, which I just haven't played. So
yeah, I think we all are to an extent.
I have Fallout New Vegas, which I started, but for some reason I still put that on the side because I'm replaying Perfect Dark.
Wow, that's definitely an interesting set of priorities.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I don't remember beating it on the hardest difficulty, and for some reason I feel like I should be able to.
Sure. So Perfect Dark is another game from your past that you love, that means a lot to you?
Yeah, and I spent a lot of hours with friends, you know, local co-op, just yelling at each other.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I really like about Perfect Dark in comparison to GoldenEye is that you can play with bots.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you could actually, you could play with your friends. So what we would do is we would set a bunch of bots on the hardest difficulty, make our own scenarios with different weapons, and then just go at it. For example, we had this one scenario which we call zombies, which we made there were a bunch of sims, and, the bots are called sims, and we set them all to the weakest level. Yeah. And they were a special type of sim called a fist sim, so they would only punch you and attack you. And all the weapons were crowd control type weapons, like shotguns. And the level we picked was a tight, small space, so it was like a zombie invasion. But then we snuck in one sim of the highest difficulty. So when you're playing, you see a bunch of like the smaller, weaker sims, and all of a sudden you see a crazy one run up at you really fast and punch you really quickly, and it was fun because they were just screaming at each other, you know, to shoot the zombie sims, and then we have their boss show up and take us all out.
Yeah.
So Perfect Dark is definitely one of my top games.
You know, I spent so much time with my friends back then playing GoldenEye, and I think that because Perfect Dark was kind of hyped as the GoldenEye killer, you know what I mean? Because everyone played GoldenEye.
Or at least a spiritual successor.
Yeah. And I guess because I loved GoldenEye so much that I was a little disappointed with Perfect Dark. I wonder if it'd be a game if I went back. I wonder how well does it hold up, because I feel like it was in that era when graphics were still kind of yucky.
The 3D graphics.
Yeah. I'm playing the remastered version on Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it does. I mean, everything. It is HD, although the textures they're still the same, still kind of blocky.
Sure.
But I mean, still, and it was made. I think it was made by Rare and the same team. After I think they lost the Bond license. The story of Perfect Dark was good up until I think halfway, but I still enjoy it. I mean, maybe I'm just being extremely nostalgic and super biased. But I still have fun playing it. Yeah, I guess so. And there are a lot of things that I don't see now in some games. For example, if you were to shoot a character in the leg, they would start limping away, or they grab their arm. Even the NPCs still have a lot of features that aren't really seen now. I mean, I've played some Call of Duties and things like that, and when you shoot an NPC, they just take bullets until they fall down. There's no
definitely.
There's nothing about them. So in Perfect Dark, if you shoot a character in the leg, they'll start limping away, or they'll grab their arm, or you could even shoot the gun out of their hands and pick it up.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes they'll pull out a secondary weapon, and then you could disarm them and take that from them, and then they'll give up.
They have nothing.
Yeah, and they just put their hands up, and
that's awesome.
Beg for mercy.
Somehow I missed that level of detail.
Yeah, there's an astounding level of detail. It's really good. There are some things that are goofy also, but that's really cool. And like I said, you could also disarm them, so you can sneak up on somebody and just take away their weapons. It's neat, but some characters do something really, really dumb. For example, I was playing 2 nights ago, or was one computer. He threw a grenade, but I was right next to him, so he threw it at the ground, right in between us. And blew everyone up, which I mean is it's not really the point of a guard, I guess. Kill yourself and I don't know, maybe the guard was just really loyal.
Suicide bomber.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
that's pretty funny though.
It's neat. There's a lot of things I really like about it.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe I was just too young to really notice and appreciate the level of detail that the game had, because it does sound like I don't remember any of the stuff that you just described.
I don't think I gave it enough of a chance to see some of that stuff.
Okay.
Because really, like you had said, Tim, I played so much GoldenEye, and when I heard it was kind of like GoldenEye, I think I was actually kind of done with GoldenEye. That was my thing. It wasn't like it's not like it wasn't going to meet my standards that GoldenEye set. It was more just I was so burnt out from GoldenEye that the last thing I wanted was another console shooter.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of that too for me as well.
Like I kind of moved from GoldenEye into RPGs, I think, and then RPGs were all I cared about for the longest time.
I think I moved from GoldenEye into probably RTS, I suppose. Although I was playing them before GoldenEye even, but I don't know.
Yeah, GoldenEye as a shooter was a one-off thing for me. I never really got drawn into shooters too much at that age. But that's just me. I mean, everything you described about Perfect Dark really does sound awesome, especially for its time.
Oh yeah, I think it was great for it.
All right, Shawn, so we talked about what you answered as your favorite game of all time. What's a more recent game, like in the last few years, that's really impressed you?
Yeah, something in the last maybe 5 years or so that has just blown you away.
Blown me away. Games I really like. I mean, on my Vita, I've been Spelunky, the new HD one.
Yeah, Spelunky is a really good roguelike.
Yeah, yeah, I played a lot of Spelunky. I've died a lot.
Yeah, so have I. And I think I died so much in Spelunky so early on that I actually didn't have the patience for it. And usually I do. I actually like roguelikes. But with Spelunky, it was almost like it was too hard. And it made me frustrated, which I try not to let happen. But
oh, yeah, but no, but Spelunky is a game that it will happen. I mean, you'll get frustrated.
It felt like self-harm almost.
Yeah, I mean, the game can be cruel, especially if you're not ready for it. And
sure.
There are times where you do something on the opposite side of the map that will just take you out.
Yeah, but it's a roguelike, so it encourages you to jump right back in. It's not hard to get right back into the action, which is, I think, what roguelikes do best. But yeah, Spelunky's a lot of fun. You said you have that on your Vita?
Yeah, I have that on everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of the games where I bought multiple times.
Nice.
Other people or different ways.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Shovel Knight. I played through it all on PC, and now I want it on 3DS.
Shovel Knight was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shovel Knight was a lot of fun.
I played Shovel Knight. Yeah, we actually played that. I'm from Philly, and we have a local meetup that we meet up every week, basically, every Thursday evening from 7 until X. X being,
question mark?
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah. So we have different things every week. We have game jams that we have been running monthly for a while. We have discussions where people talk technical details or not as much art or design. And then we also have Game Club, which is a book club but for games. And through that, I played some really good games. Shovel Knight we played, I believe, 2 months ago.
Okay.
A lot of people loved it. A couple of the games I've really liked over the last 2 years we played during For Game Club. Some of them are we try and stick to indie titles just because they're cheaper,
sure,
and more people can afford them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want everyone to go out and buy Destiny or something. But I mean, let's see. Papers, Please was a really good title in my opinion. Over the last.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was really, really good. And also Gunpoint was all. I really enjoyed Gunpoint.
Yeah,
I haven't played that one.
I have actually.
I'm not actually familiar with Gunpoint.
Well, have you seen? You may have seen it. I feel like I had seen it a lot before knowing what it was called, and it's sort of it's a game where you play as like a little detective guy, and it's a building. You'll have a building with cameras, like laser security and stuff like that, and you basically have to infiltrate and steal documents and get out, and like the guards have line of sight. And that
I can't think of anything that looks like that.
Really?
I mean, but that kind of describes a few different games, but not like.
Yeah, I suppose.
Not necessarily two-dimensional.
Yeah, Gunpoint is a lot of fun, and it's really some of the level designs are really clever and really make you think. It's like a puzzle in and of itself.
And the writing I really enjoy also.
Yeah, I mean, that too. Yeah, the little conversations between your character and the characters you take jobs from and that sort of thing. Yeah, Gunpoint, that's a good pick. Papers, Please. That game, I found it when I was actually on vacation at the time, visiting family. And I seriously spent that entire vacation just glued to my netbook playing Papers, Please. It just, like, I couldn't do anything else. I was so into it because it was so different. It was so unique. And it's a perfect example of minimal gameplay being,
right, less is more.
Less is more, yeah, exactly. What was it about Papers, Please that you really liked, Shawn?
Well, I mean, the story I thought was great, and the dark humor was... I enjoyed it, the humor.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I know there were, 20 different endings, I believe, for the game?
I knew there were a bunch.
Similar.
I didn't realize there were 20. Oh, I see. So some of them are just different enough to be considered a different ending, but...
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
You die, or you get arrested and you die, or you get arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had 17 out of the 20 different endings.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I mean, I also played it multiple times just for the game club discussions.
Sure.
And I tried to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I had a good chunk of endings. Again, writing with that was good, just the design, and the stress that it puts you through when you have to balance making money, getting citations, and it's a lot of other little things. For example, you could hang things up on your wall, and you could help people get through the gate, and it might hurt you, or it might help you, or it might do both. And there's a whole nother crazy subplot thing that's going on.
Yeah, assisting with a rebel group.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Yeah, and just for some clarification for anybody that's not familiar with Papers, Please, you're working in a booth at the border of a communist country, essentially, and you have to choose accurately who gets to come and go based on their passport and credentials. And yeah, it gets really stressful. It gets really tense. It can be heartbreaking at times. If you don't do your job quickly and accurately enough, you won't have enough money to pay your rent, feed your family, pay for medicine when your child is sick, etc., and so forth.
And they also make it so that you can't just do the right thing necessarily, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'll get people who are like, please let me through. If you force me back to my country, they're gonna kill me. And I didn't do anything wrong. My country's corrupt. They're gonna kill me. And if you say, okay, I'll let you through, even though you don't have the correct documents, you could get screwed over. But you did the right thing morally. But yeah, I mean, that game can be pretty fucked up, so...
Great leader is moral.
Yeah. If you're brainwashed, then yes, it's a moral decision to screw over the nonconformists. But anyway, that game's fantastic. I love indie games that are as good as that, in the sense that you get so much in such a small package.
Oh yeah.
You save money, but still get a fantastic experience.
Yeah, so, Shawn, I got a question for you. So, as someone who creates games, are there any games, other than the ones you've mentioned already, that from a point of view of a game developer, any of them that have really stood out to you or that you really appreciate for just either their creativity or maybe just their...
maybe even in that, oh man, I wish I thought of that, or I wish I designed that kind of feeling,
I just mentioned the other day to somebody else. There was a game called... an iOS game, I believe also on Android. It was called Device 6. And that game, it was an IGF finalist last year, or this year, or 2014, I guess, or 13, I'm not sure. But it was one of the games where I was inspired and kind of sad that I couldn't make that, or someone else made it before me, and there were so many ideas that I would have loved, and there were so many things that I wish that it did, and then I saw that it did it, and I was super happy.
Sure.
And I was also a little sad because I thought, hey, now I could do it, but then they just pulled it off in a much more magical way than I could have ever done myself.
Sure.
That was a title that I really enjoyed.
So I'm not familiar with that game. Kind of describe it for me. What kind of game is it?
Device 6, you said it was called?
Yeah, Device 6. It's a mobile game. It might be available for tablets as well, but it's almost like a puzzle story adventure, and it takes advantage of the fact that it's on a mobile device, but it doesn't use the accelerometer or the gyroscope or anything like that, or the camera. Sure. But the story wraps around the page, and it moves, and it turns upside down, and you have to you're turning the iPhone around. So you're just actually getting really involved with the device you're using, which is something that I haven't really seen for in mobile games. Most mobile games, you're either you're turning the phone left and right for using the accelerometer, or you're tapping the screen and everything. And there is some tapping, but the story is presented extremely well, and the style of the game is wonderful. Everything's sharp and polished. The audio is great. I believe it was nominated for an audio award also. I mean, if you play, you want to play with headphones, or if you could hook up your iPhone up to a speaker, you do that too. But
it's funny you say that, actually, because I just pulled out my Android and went into the Play Store and looked for it. Now, the game itself isn't available for Android, but the soundtrack is there for Google Music.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
It must be a good soundtrack, if the music is available for Android, but the game itself isn't.
Yeah, the music was great.
Looks like it's iOS only. The review scores are pretty phenomenal for a mobile game. yeah, it looks like a lot of people have, really good things to say about it. And I always like hearing stuff like that. I mean, I was saying a moment ago that games like Paper Please and other indie games are so amazing because it's great to see all of that creativity in a smaller package. But to think even smaller on the mobile phone, I'm sure most people look at mobile games like Angry Birds or Bejeweled or,
Candy Crush or whatever.
Yeah, so to see games that, really go outside the box and manage to make use of that platform in a way that is actually really positive is awesome.
Yeah, and I played through the game a couple times. I mean, for my own enjoyment. It isn't a game like Angry Birds or Candy Crush where there's a high score where you could constantly play to beat. I mean, it's a wonderful experience in and of itself, and I mean, when you're done with it, you could be done with it, and it's not something that you have to, some games, like an Angry Birds, I mean, I played it, I enjoyed it, but it does seem like a time waster after a while.
Yeah.
And this game isn't that. You play it, you enjoy it, I really liked it, and now I can, I can reflect upon that and think about it, and I'm not going to go back to it and play it when I'm on the train or on the bus or something.
Sure. So it's an experience, as opposed to just something to get you by.
Yeah.
It's not just something you play when you're on the toilet.
Well,
no,
actually, I'm sure you could. I mean, on the toilet would probably be better than waiting in line for a burger.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that sounds like a really cool game. It makes me wish I had an iOS device to check it out. I'll just have to. I know you've got that iPad Mini.
Yeah,
which is good because we wouldn't be able to play Golem Arcana right now without it.
Sure, we would. We have a Transformer.
Yeah, but I think that's an older Transformer, so it's probably capped on its Android version.
You think so?
Oh, I'm almost sure. Yeah,
it's possible. Well, we also have our phones. Have you heard of Golem Arcana? Are you familiar with that, John?
No, I am not. What is it about?
It's a tabletop game, but it's it's what they call a digitally enhanced miniatures game. Huh. So it's a tactical combat game where you're two army of golems, like magically summoned creatures that are being piloted essentially by golem knights, as they call them. You've
got your little detailed figures. They're painted.
Pre-painted miniatures that are really cool, really detailed, and then they're on this kind of like a map made from tiles, so you can kind of arrange it in different ways.
There's different terrains and stuff.
But the cool thing is there's a tablet app that comes with it, and it comes with a wand that connects to the tablet or
Bluetooth.
Any mobile device via Bluetooth, and then you can you tap the base of your miniature, and on that it's kind of like its stat sheet and everything pops up.
It pulls up their 3D model and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, there's like a 3D version of the combat, of the field, the battlefield, and where everything is and everything. It's on there, and then it also it tracks their HP. You can you press a button, it cycles through all their different abilities, and when you land on the ability they want to use, you tap the enemy golem's base, and it'll do an attack, and it'll roll the dice for you, and it kind of keeps track of status effects like a slow or things like that. So it's the thing that's really cool about it, the thing that I really like about it, is there's tutorial missions. So it's a tabletop miniatures game that you don't even have to open the rulebook for if you don't want to. You can just sit down and go through the tutorial missions, and then it'll teach you how to play the game. And that's really appealing to me because I'm the one who's always reading and studying the rulebooks and trying to teach people how to play, and it doesn't always work so well.
Sorry, what was the name of the title again? I want to write this down.
Oh, Golem Arcana.
It's called Golem Arcana. It's made by Harebrained Schemes of the guys that did the Shadowrun Returns, the recent Shadowrun reboot.
Oh, okay, great. All right, I'm writing this down, and I'm going to save it.
Yeah, you should check it out for sure if you're into tabletop games at all, because I'm mostly a gamer, and I'll play the occasional tabletop game, but I personally kind of have a hard time getting into the ones that are more complex, require a lot of attention paid, and a lot of playing it, play it 2 or 3 times before you actually know all the rules, and each game can take 2 hours and that kind of thing. I have a harder time with games like that, possibly because I was raised on video games, so my attention span might be in a different place, but with a game like that, it's so much easier for me to really enjoy it. Because I had always thought Warhammer and those games were super cool, but I just knew that they had a little too much going on for me.
Yeah,
and
they were a commitment.
Yeah, a game like this that is paired up with a tablet that does a lot of the work for me and has sort of a video gamey aspect to it is really cool. But yeah, sorry for that side track. It's just the iPad reminded me of that.
Yeah, and it's another cool feature is that they can patch the units, their stats and everything. They can balance the game if
just with patches.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of like Hearthstone versus Magic.
So why don't you tell the folks about your game? The one specifically that you were demoing that I played and had a lot of fun with. These French fries are terrible hot dogs. That's the right name, right?
Yeah, that's the correct name. Yeah, so These French Fries Are Terrible Hot Dogs, it's a card game. It's more of a party card game, which, I mean, some people, you can take it more seriously if you wanted to. But in essence, it is a party game. And it's a game about lying to tell the truth and being a salesperson. The way it works is in rounds, and you deal out cards to everybody, maybe 3 or 4, depending on how long you want the game to go. You need at least 3 people. So at the beginning of the first round, one person starts off as a judge, and they take a card from the middle deck and they put it face up. And let's say that card is hot dogs. Everyone else then takes a card from their hand and they put it face down. Now it's their job to try and convince the judge the card they put face down is the same one that the judge put face up. But there are some rules there. You can't say the name of the card you put face down. You can't say the name of the card the judge put face up. And the most important thing is everything you say when trying to convince the judge has to be true about your card. For example, let's say the judge put hot dogs face up and I played French fries face down. Everything I say has to be true, so I would say what I put face down here is a food that's most likely best enjoyed warm, and it's great with toppings like chili or ketchup or even pickled cheese on it. And you got a carnival, festivals, and that could be my pitch. And that's something that's true about the card I put face down, French fries, but it's also true about the judge card, hot dogs. So then everyone else could put their card down and do the same thing. For example, if someone played the word smoke face down, they could say, this is something you might find by a campfire. I'm stealing a lot of content that other people said because I'm not as creative as them. But
that's okay.
Yeah, other people would say things like, let's say the judge card was chair and you played table face down. You could say it has 4 legs and a hard surface. Or you could say that if it was chair and you put horse face down, you could also say, it could be brown or it could be, a tan color, multiple colors, and 4 legs, very sturdy, and you could sit on it. I mean, that's true about a horse and a chair. So it's that type of game. And then the judge picks the person they thought had the best pitch. That person wins the round. Losers take new cards. Winner doesn't have to. So once you run out of all your cards, you win the game. Yeah, and that's the main concept. That's the game in its most basic form.
Yeah, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. That's a really clever design, definitely. It kind of makes me think of games like Dixit, if you're familiar with Dixit, where everybody plays a card from their hand and the cards have really surreal artwork on them, and then
you have to give a hint, say a word or a phrase or something that
is kind of relates to the image on the card, and you want to get people. Okay. So everybody, that's right. Okay, sorry. The judge picks the artwork from the card, and doesn't let anybody see it right away.
Yeah. So Dixit's unique because your game in ways is similar to like Apples to Apples, where a judge draws a card off the deck and then everyone reacts to that.
Yeah.
Dixit's like those games, but it's unique in that the judge gets to pull a card out of their hand. And they get to choose which one they want to be as the card, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So what you do is the judge pulls it and puts it face down and then gives a clue or either a word or a phrase or something that gives a hint, and then everyone else plays the best match from their hand, puts it face down, they mix them all up. So the trick with that is you want at least one person to guess your card correctly, but if everyone does, they all get points and you don't.
Because you were too obvious.
Yeah,
so if your card literally has a picture of a stack of coins and you say that's money. A lot of money, or something silly like that. But if you have a card with like a snail really slowly making its way up a really long staircase and you say this is going to take a while, and someone else, they're like, I want them to pick mine, and they have a turtle like on a racetrack or something. Sure. They play theirs because they're thinking, oh, that's good for mine too. It's almost guaranteed that people aren't going to know which one to pick, the snail or the turtle, or maybe one of the other players' cards, which could also potentially be, similar. And so it's kind of a little bit of deception. Like you kind of want to be creative with your little story or statement about your card and get people to pick, at least one person pick yours, but most people pick not yours. Right. But yeah, for some reason, that's what kind of popped into my head just a little bit when you were describing your game. And I really love games like that. So that's really exciting. I mean, is it something that is being printed or you plan on having printed, or is it just something that you've made for fun and you don't plan on taking it much further?
Oh, hot dogs? Yeah. Oh, I actually had a Kickstarter earlier this year that ended, and it was funded. So
I'm actually awesome. That's right. I'm sorry. Tim actually mentioned that, or when he introduced you.
I actually already pre-ordered it as well. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
See, I'm the clueless one, and he's the one that knows everything when it comes to this. So, but cool. I mean, I'll just play the role of the listener that doesn't know.
Exactly. You're asking the questions that people who don't know.
So that's awesome. So it's kickstarted.
Yeah, I should be getting the cards hopefully in a few weeks. I'm delayed. I mean, life is more complicated than I thought it would be. Yeah.
Really?
So yeah. So I ran into some problems, and then I ran into some other obligations that need to be taken care of because working on games is not my full-time gig.
Sure.
Yeah. So after I come home from work, I have to eat, I guess, and shower.
I guess.
Yeah.
You must.
Yeah, so and then I spend time working on my games, and I would love to try and balance everything and work on each game a certain portion of the night, but then you run into bugs or you run into balancing issues, and you just run into things that just take up time and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you have to be fair to yourself, but yeah, so things are taking longer than I would have liked, but I do have a date for the cards. It should be around the 18th of this month. So once I get them, the backers will get them, and then the people who pre-ordered it will get it right after that.
Right on. Something that I wanted to talk to you about was the kind of the card art, because it's Cards Against Humanity kind of revolutionary. I shouldn't say revolutionized because it's not a revolutionary thing. They just kind of changed the game because their cards are black on white or white on black. And that cuts the cost down a lot, as I'm sure you know. I have a prototype of a card game that I made that's, on the back burner, and I looked into costs of different kind of cards, so I understand. And I was actually happy that you went with detailed cards, that actually have good-looking artwork on them, as opposed to just going the Cards Against Humanity way. So what kind of, obviously I can imagine from an indie point of view, it's probably a tough call for you how much money you want to put into the cards, because it affects a lot of things, and that's a big thing with tabletop games is the cost of making them, right? I'm just wondering what inspired you to do more detailed cards, I guess.
Well, I didn't do the design for the cards. A friend of mine did, because I made prototype cards So my first prototype were index cards, of course, just to get the game mechanics to work. And then I prototyped them, and when I put them on regular playing cards, they were actually just black and white. And I mean, it was really ugly font, and one side had a color border and just the word, without any cool design. And that was just so I could actually play the game not on index cards and make it seem a bit more official.
Right.
Then a friend of mine, his name's Will Stallwood, he actually works at another studio, and co-owns another studio in Philly called Cypher Prime. And he decided, he saw my lame black on white design, and he's a designer by trade, so I guess it made him so disgusted that he decided to do something about it, and and take it upon himself to work on that. And the cards turned out great. I mean, people compliment it all the time, which I pass along to him, and I guess it helps inflate his ego.
Sure, yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool that you have that resource.
Yeah, and I mean, I did want to have some sort of design, and I wasn't sure what to do. If cards looking completely different would have also been cool. For example, maybe a small stylized drawing of whatever the card said would have been cool. We were balancing different options, but this is the design that we went with, and I think they look great. I really think they look great.
Yeah, I thought they looked really cool too. So kudos to the designer. So another game that I saw that you made was I don't remember the name of it, but it uses the PlayStation dildos. I can't remember what they're called.
The PlayStation Move controllers, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the lollipop, whatever you want to call it. I don't know.
Yeah, the name of that game is kind of strange. Yeah, it's called Henka Twist Paper.
Okay, that's why I couldn't remember it, because
it's a strange name. I will agree, and I don't know what. I mean, I kind of wanted a fun name that made sense, but was kind of strange. But it does make sense because I can explain the game if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the way I set it up was you have 6 people, and they stand in a box, taped off box on the floor, maybe 5x5 or 6x6. So they're kind of close up. Everyone's given a PlayStation Move controller, and you're on teams. 2 teams are red, 2 teams are blue, 2 teams on green, and the colors of the controllers designate the team you're on. When the music starts and the game starts, what you need to do is twist and turn the controller the X, Y, and Z axis, and you need to find the right way to hold it, the correct orientation. Once you do, the controller will vibrate and light up, indicating it's correct. And you basically fill up a meter for your team, and once that meter is full, your team wins the game. Huh. So, and if you find it, you want to tell your teammate because you two share the same orientation and the meter will fill faster. One of the big things about the game is you're allowed to interfere with your opponents. So as someone's twisting and turning the controller, you're allowed to grab their hand and twist it out of the way, while with your free hand or your controller hand, trying to find the right position for your controller. But then you have, 5 other people trying to do the same thing in the box area. So it turns into almost like a stand-up twister type match where everyone's struggling and twisting and turning, and the music gets faster and faster. And there are times when it yells out the color of the team that's in the lead, and it's really funny when that happens because then everyone goes after that team.
Sure.
So yeah, that's the type of game it is. It's a physical game. I mean, have either of you played Johann Sebastian Joust or JS Joust?
I haven't played it, but I've watched people play it.
Yeah, same here. I've always wanted to play it, but
yeah, that game easily is also probably one of my top games. It's more of a way of life for me as opposed to a game. Yeah, really? I really enjoyed the game, and that's why I acquired 7 Move controllers for Joust.
Nice.
Yeah, and I figured, I might as well take advantage of having all these controllers and see what I could do with it. So I tried to make my own game. And the hard part was making a game that used the controllers that wasn't Joust, because I love Joust so much. So I managed to work on something, and it's been getting around. Actually, I'm supposed to be at a festival later on this month in Culver City, California, Indicate. So I'll be there with that game, and hopefully people can play it there and then twist and turn and fight their friends.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting to see how it was received, because from the way you described it, it sounds like a really fun concept for sure.
Yeah, I watched a couple. You have a couple of videos on your website of people playing it, and
oh yeah. I mean, the videos can be a bit confusing. I should probably work on that.
I was able to, after reading the description, I was able to figure out what was going on, and I don't know, it almost seems like if you just blasted techno music behind that, and it would just look like a bunch of high people just like
raving or something.
Yeah, exactly. Just or really drunk, and they're just trying to stay up, but it's really funny looking.
Hey, if you can make people look like that when those are not the circumstances, I think you're doing something right. Yeah, that sounds like a blast though.
Yeah, so you came up here for PAX. Is it your first time to Seattle?
Actually, yes. That was my first time in Seattle, first time PAX time.
Nice.
And it was really, really, really cool. I like Seattle.
Yeah,
awesome.
We're based just across the lake from Seattle, so
oh, okay, great.
We love the city. You're pretty much at your table the whole expo, though, or did you get a chance to walk around and do anything else while you're there?
Most of the time I spent and the time I did walk around, I went to the bathroom, or I checked out a couple of other indie games that were close by. Oh, sure. And then Smash Brothers was right next to me, which was yeah. I mean, that was bad because I had to look at it from a distance and watch everyone else enjoy it while I was standing there. I mean, I did manage to play early in the morning when I was setting up my table.
Sure, yeah.
Which was cool. So I actually got a chance to try out all the new characters that were in that build.
Sure.
Little Mac and Rosalina and the Villager, who's kind of funny.
Oh yeah, the Villager is really fun. I mean, we all got to really play the Villager when the demo came out too. Those of us that didn't really get to play it at PAX, the Villager is one of the playable characters on the demo, along with Mega Man, who's also a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I did Mega Man also. He was cool. I mean, I would love to actually work on my skill with those characters.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I'm a little concerned because I feel like the controls on the 3DS version hold me back a little bit.
Oh, I feel the same way.
So I'm gonna try not to take it too seriously or competitively, because I feel like I'm gonna blame a lot on the controls, but I don't want to be that jerk that's like, it was the controller, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I might try not to be too competitive with it until the Wii U version comes out.
Oh yeah. Are you planning on getting the GameCube expansion?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna get the $100 version of the game that's gonna come with a limited edition GameCube controller with the Smash 4 logo on it, as well as the USB GameCube port adapter with a copy of the game. Definitely going to do that.
I didn't know it was a special edition. Now,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yep. It's $40 more than the cost of the game, but it does have a controller and an adapter, so it seems like it's worth it.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
Yeah, I just found out about it the other day. I did not give Brawl enough of a chance. I think I played so much Melee, and Melee just means a lot to me. I just think back to all of the time I spent playing that game. I think it's the only competitive game that I think I played so much that I felt like I actually could have played in tournaments and that sort of thing.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe to some level, not win tournaments, but felt confident and was interested in doing that.
Qualified at least.
Yeah, it's really the only game I feel like I got to that point. Like, it was like, I felt like the Pokemon trainer where the main character, if someone walked by or someone said to me like, oh yeah, I play Smash Brothers, I was the trainer and the main character walked in front of me and it was like the exclamation point popped up, like we're battling right now, it doesn't matter. I got so into it. I worked at a game store at the time too, so I found so many people who would walk in, and if they played Smash, I'd throw the game into the display GameCube and we'd play. And so I found that I really improved by playing a lot of different types of people. That I didn't really play Brawl very much, and so I kind of want to really dive into this one.
Well, this one's also, I think, being developed by Namco, right? Or they're involved in it, so...
Yeah, I had heard that they were involved in it, but then I saw so much from Sakurai and HAL that I wasn't sure anymore if Namco was still working on it or what. But it's possible that they might have tag teamed it or something like that. Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking forward to it because they had the Tekken, right?
They make Tekken and they make Soul Calibur. So I guess with the fighting game experience and whatnot. Could have gone into there for sure. Actually, you know what? It would make sense if Namco had a pretty big hand in the development, because Pac-Man is really well designed in that game. Like, he has one particular taunt where he makes like a classic arcade game sprite show up, and then it plays a little sound effect or a bit of music from that game, and there's seriously like 20 of them.
Really?
It's like Galaga and Twin Bee and just like all the different ones, and yes, exactly. It's like the most fleshed out taunt I've ever seen from any character.
That's actually one thing I like about Brawl. And I'm sad that Snake's not in it now, because
definitely.
If you ever played Brawl, if you ever played the Shadow Moses level and you played as Snake, he had one taunt. There's a character in Metal Gear Solid, the first one, where a character where you could call on your codec, was what they call it, and you could just get information from her. And she would also speak sometimes with funny proverbs, but she would give you a lot of information. And in Brawl, you can use Snake and you could call her, and then she would give you information on one of the characters that you're fighting against, which is really neat.
Yeah, so I loved those.
Yeah, so that's actually really cool, and it's nice to see the level of detail that they're taking with Pac-Man. I didn't know he did all that.
Definitely. That's a good point. It is similar to that little Easter egg with Snake. And I hope to see more of that. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that really hasn't been discovered yet. And it's also interesting to think now that Nintendo's getting a little bit more in the way of modern game design. Now they're actually doing DLC and patches and stuff.
Right.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how that affects it, because, I mean, we've already seen some Mario Kart patches and more to come, so I'm sure it'll be that way with Smash Brothers as well.
Yeah, and this way you don't run into, I guess, the problem that they have with Meta Knight.
Yeah.
Just being banned from tournaments.
Definitely. So that'll be cool to see. And also just new content. Maybe they could put Snake in at some point.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, I think there are some things I do think are kind of weird. For example, they wanted to keep the roster the same for the 3DS and the Wii U version, right? That's what I heard, which meant no Ice Climbers.
I still don't see how Ice Climbers couldn't have been just changed a little bit, tweaked to function on the 3DS. I don't know if maybe that's just an excuse.
That's weird, yeah.
They said, the reason why they don't have Ice Climbers is because they would take too much resources to do it on a 3DS.
I heard something along those lines. I didn't research it fully, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm not familiar with the inner workings of the hardware, so I can't say whether or not. Well, I mean, I don't think I could validly give my opinion.
Sure.
On that. But it's not cool for the Ice Climber fans, and there were a lot of people who did love Ice.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, my big disappointment is I played as the character Lucas in Brawl, the main character of Mother 3, and he's a clone of Ness, of course. And so they said that they tried to get rid of clones because they want to have more unique characters. Sure. So they got rid of Wolf, Star Wolf, for instance. Although Falco and Fox are still clones, but but they got rid of Lucas. But then Sakurai puts in Dark Pit. and Dark Pit is just a clone of Pit, and that really just felt like he was favoring his own franchise.
Right, yeah.
And that bothered me because it was like, you're gonna take out Lucas when Mother 3 like has this huge cult following, and then, you know, I mean, I've heard that the Kid Icarus game on the 3DS was pretty good, but it wasn't received that great.
Didn't they add another character from Kid Icarus as well?
Yeah, Pelotuna.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah. So he definitely favors his own franchises, which, of course, that's fair. I mean, he's putting so much work into the Smash Brothers series, and his work means a lot to him, but sometimes it just feels a little bit like unbalanced.
I mean, from what I remember hearing, I mean, while Lucas was a clone of Ness, there were some things that were different enough where you would want to prefer one character over the other.
Definitely.
I heard also Dr. Mario is back in.
Yes, Dr. Mario is back, which is exciting because he was one of my mains in Melee.
Oh, okay. Is he that much different from, or was he that much different?
Honestly, not too different. He's a little slower but more powerful.
Sure.
Okay.
And his midair forward A isn't a spike.
Oh,
So
really?
his little over fist thing isn't a spike, but his forward B is the same. Except instead of a cape, it's his doctor coat.
Oh, yeah.
So he's I don't know. Maybe they changed him a little more significantly in the new one though.
Okay.
You know who I played a lot in Melee? Game & Watch.
Game & Watch.
Yeah.
He's back.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe I will be excited for the new Smash Brothers after all.
Game & Watch was, for some reason, the hardest character for me to beat. And
Really?
it was just, and then, every time he would kill me, he'd ring his bell, and I just got so frustrated.
Oh, I love that. And I love throwing pancakes at people or sausages there.
Yeah, and he had that one move where it was a number. And
it was
the higher
a
number,
number,
the more damage it would do.
I just spammed the crap out of that. It would drive people insane because I'd land a lucky 9 or 10. And, and then I'd ring the bell.
I'd say that he was the troll character.
He was
but
totally.
now Animal Crossing Villager is the troll character. One of his taunts is just this little dance. It's just this. Oh my god, he does this little shimmy. It's ridiculous. And he does so much like trolly stuff.
I don't know, what about the Wii Fit Trainer?
Wii Fit Trainer's just a weird character. I don't know about a troll character, but that
is weird.
I think that's the most bizarre. That's kind of like the like if Rob the robot was that weird, like how did they come up with that, character from Brawl? Then I'd say Wii Fit
Dog is also in it though, right?
Oh, that looks
that's true. That's true. You're right. The Duck Hunt dog. Along with the duck. It's the dog and the duck. Yeah, that's also pretty out there. But they have to be really clever and creative. Like every time they do that and people are like, how the hell are they going to make that work? And then they play it and they're like, wow, that really works. They're pretty good at that. But anyway, man, we've rambled about Smash Brothers for a little bit, which I can do, of course, but not sure if I should do.
That's all right. Everyone loves Smash. So we're approaching the end of our little podcast here. So we close out the show the same way every time by asking you a question that the previous guest came up with and then task you with coming up with a question for the next guest.
These questions can be
about anything.
Yep.
Yeah, literally about anything. Some of them have been about games in the past. Some of them were about movies or TV shows.
Or life in general.
Exactly.
So what was the previous question, Tim?
So Gen Z was our previous guest, the lead artist from Supergiant Games. She said, what game would you banish from existence so that you could remake it yourself?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I don't know if I choose a game I'd love or a game I'd hate.
I mean, sometimes there are games where you hate them, but there's like one little thing about it that you thought had so much more potential.
When my first time at PAX, I was at the QA thing, the Make a Strip, and it was like a QA while they're making the comic strip. It was Jerry and Mike, and they were doing a QA while they're doing it. And I asked him a question, and my question was, if you could erase a game from your memory, what would it be? And I was thinking of, what game do you hate so much that you would erase it from your memory? But they flipped it on me and said, I'd erase, what was it? I can't remember what Jerry said now, but Mike said he'd erase the first year of WoW so he could re-experience that. So he could experience that again. And they flipped it on me and said, basically turned my question into, what game would you experience for the first time again? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do that sometimes where there's like, oh, I loved that movie so much and I don't remember anything about it. So I'll just watch it again and it'll be like watching it for the first time. Like I do that all the time because I don't know, there's something wrong with my brain. So, but yeah, take as much time as you need to come up with your answer.
I mean, I have one answer that's more serious than the other one.
Okay, I'll shoot both.
I mean, the more silly one would be, one of those infamous games, Superman 64. And not for the single player. That game got me so mad too because I tried playing it on normal difficulty and I just couldn't do it. So I switched it to easy and I also couldn't do it. So I just used a cheat. I used a cheat to get all the way to the end. And
hey, at least they programmed in cheats.
Yeah, but the thing is, I got to the last level of the cheat and I beat it. And then it said, "Good job, now beat the game in a harder difficulty to find out what happens." Really? Yeah, and
like Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, so I just put the game down and said, "No, you can't do this to me anymore." But there was a multiplayer in Superman 64, which was absolutely ridiculous because you had Superman and you had Brainiac and you had all these crazy characters who have all these different abilities and different powers and whatever. Superman doesn't fight people in some sort of hovercraft. He punches them and brawls them and uses his powers. But no, the multiplayer was they put all of these characters in their own weird hovercraft type things and you would just shoot at each other. And it was horrible. Yeah, it was weird. It was so weird. And, the game had terrible draw distance. So, to see somebody, you had to be, like a foot away from them. So there were some levels that were in tunnels where you can't see anybody until you zoom right past them because you're going really, really quick. You're just flying back and forth past each other in tunnels, and it was awful. But
that sounds hilarious.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I played too much of it because it was hilarious, but awful at the same time. So I would remake that, and I would do the same thing. I'd put them I'd put Superman and Brainiac and everyone else in their weird hovercrafts and restrict them from using all of their powers and things that made them actually interesting. Mm-hmm. I'd make the draw distance better, and I'd probably make that more of a competitive game. A much more reasonable competitive game as opposed to whatever they did.
Sure.
I mean, if you can find a video on that, I would definitely say look it up because it's ridiculous.
We should play it for our 4-player Let's Play co-op show, Game Shows. Honestly, that'd be entertainment.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, it would be. But the one game I would remake, that I would erase so I could remake it is probably Rez.
Oh.
Yeah, because that game, that's another game that's really high up on my list. The music was great in that game and the timing and just the way everything flowed. That's the game that I could just play, and then I could just listen to as someone else plays it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely erase that game and try to make it.
Fantastic, and just getting to the end though, even like it's an experience really.
Oh yeah,
more than just a game. Like if you can actually make it there, because it can be kind of tough, or if you screw up a few too many times and you die and you have to start over and that kind of thing. That's what deterred me a lot of the time when I wanted to try and play it and get as far as I possibly could. It's like if I made a few too many slip-ups, it would discourage me. But those times where you get to the very end and you kind of... especially if you manage to evolve the character enough times.
That's wonderful.
It's an experience. And I really wish I played the kind of spiritual successor. What was it called? Child of Eden, there you go. I really wish I played it more. I kind of witnessed that one just a little bit, but didn't actually sit down and play it. And I could tell that it wasn't impressing me as much as Rez did as well, but just because it was a similar game, at the very least, was enough to make me want to play it. So I really need to go back and play Child of Eden.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I ever saw it was maybe PAX East a couple years ago, and people were playing it on the Kinect. I didn't get a chance either to play the game, and I haven't, but I feel like watching the game made me just want to play Rez also, but I mean, I just
know
really,
how that is.
Yeah, Rez was just something that stood out in my mind.
Definitely, that's a good choice. So, how about your question? I mean,
Okay, question. All right, so let's say the question is, if you had two games, okay, so you have two protagonists of two games, what's the most interesting swap, I would say? If you swap two protagonists from their own games into another game. For example,
so if you put Mario and Zelda or
exactly,
Mario.
Yeah, what's the best combination you can think of? Which pair would work the best in each other's world and why?
Okay. So what's your answer to that question, Shawn? We flipped it on you.
Yeah, we do that to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh man, okay, I didn't
no one
think
sees
about
it coming.
Let's see. Well, I mean, I guess the characters should be able to retain all of their abilities from their game and move them over.
Yeah, and how would the gameplay offered by that character's abilities in their own game change up how the other game works? It is, there's a lot you can do there.
Nintendo did it, and also another group of people did it as well, but they took characters from Nintendo games and put them in different Nintendo games. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo did the NES mashup or something was called like
NES
that.
Remix?
Remix, yes. Yeah, that's it. Which was cool. And then I remember seeing someone else also. They put a bunch of different characters, but it was only in Mario games.
And that actually was a pretty popular game. It started as a Flash game and actually ended up becoming like a big thing. I think they even tried to kickstart it or something.
Oh, really? I missed that.
They kickstarted like their own original concept. Same thing. Yeah. But I think that's one of those Kickstarters too, where it was successful, but then they didn't manage the money right, and then they took way too long, and then they had to postpone it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard. That's always hard.
Totally, definitely.
Let me think. I would love to see. Oh, well, I don't know if that would work one way or the other. I mean, because I was thinking, mentioned Rez and Metal Gear Solid, it would be cool to see the character from Rez in Metal Gear Solid and handle everything the way he does, taking everyone out. But then I wouldn't really see Solid Snake working well, sneaking around in the Rez world.
I mean, there are training programs that Snake does that are like VR, right?
The VR. Yeah, the VR.
Yeah. So that might actually work.
That would work, thinking about it.
Yeah, especially if the VR got, like, the virus. Because I'm pretty sure Rez is based around killing viruses. I think is what that's supposed to be.
Yeah, although I feel like there are really interesting combos out there, and I just need to take my time to find those.
Yeah, no, take your time. I mean, especially if for this podcast, if you want it to give a more detailed answer, take as much time as you need. We'll just edit out all the thinking.
I could take a look at some of my other games again. Or games I've played in the past.
There are certain obvious ones where you can think of like a major gameplay element, like in Prince of Persia Sands of Time. You have the Sands of Time, and when you die, you can just sort of reset the clock a little bit to get to right where you died and then not die the next time. So even that specific type of gameplay element would work so well in so many other games.
Oh, yeah.
As sort of an example. Portal guns. I'm just thinking of all of like the sort of gameplay gimmicks that come with some of the characters.
That would be interesting to see the Portal Shell, was her name?
Yeah.
I forget? Yeah, Shell, and then the Prince from the Sands mixed up. Although I wonder if the Sands level will be too easy with the Portal gun, and they wouldn't. No, actually, maybe they wouldn't.
Levels.
Because there are levels where you get the wall jump, to wall jump, to wall jump, and then jump off columns.
That's true.
And there's a lot of vertical levels in both Portal and the Prince of Persia series.
Sure.
So that actually might work out really well, because the Prince's. The Portal world with the Prince, you can do a lot of wall jumping back and forth, and I mean, depending which Portal you're playing, you can use the paint to enhance his abilities to run up and jump and bounce and parkour around the world, and I guess depending on which Prince of Persia you're playing, whether it's the older trilogy or the even older one, or the 2008 version, which I guess wasn't received as well.
I like it stylistically more.
Oh, stylistically, yeah. I thought the game looked so good. The gameplay, I mean, I have things I like and dislike. I personally like the trilogy before more so. Mm-hmm. But
the second one was a little iffy, but I think the first and third were cool.
Yeah. The second one, he was all
like
angry.
The Godsmack soundtrack.
Yeah. Although, one thing I thought was cool was that I forgot the name of the beast that chased you, but he's chasing you and then you reverse it. He's yelling at you a bunch of things that you don't understand when he's chasing you, but if you reverse it, you could actually understand what he's saying. So they actually play his vocals backwards, and then when you reverse it, you hear him normally, which is kind of cool.
That's weird. That's cool.
Yeah. I forgot what he says, but I read it somewhere and then I did it. That was neat. Actually, yeah, let's do that. I would go with Shell and Prince, because their worlds are very, they require a lot of maneuverability and a lot of thinking and planning and moving about and understanding what you can do in your world. That would probably even better fit would probably be, what was her name from Mirror's Edge?
Oh, I can't remember her name.
Yeah. I also can't remember her name.
Something. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, Faith. Yeah, Faith.
Yeah, Faith.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, B-dubs.
Yeah, Faith and the Prince. They would probably, those would also probably work out really well, too, because he's running and jumping everywhere. But, I would probably want to see the Portal. I do want to see Portal guns everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Shell and Blank.
Yeah,
works really well.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about you, Dane? Do you have an answer to that question?
Do I have an answer to that question? I don't know. I think I kind of want to see, like, the Monopoly guy, and
what's his name? Mr. Peanut from. I'd like to see the Monopoly guy in a jar of peanuts.
How about Kratos and the Monopoly guy? There you go. No, I don't know. Honestly, like, I still want to do Mega Man with something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I would switch Mega Man and James Rayner. So Mega Man would become an RTS unit, you know what I mean? Like, I'd love to see Mega Man as like a hero unit in StarCraft.
Mm-hmm. Or just a Mega Man themed RTS.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we had Mega Man Soccer. I mean, you could do Mega Man anything.
Then you have just Rainer in his Vulture, was it? Or
Yeah, you could have him in a Vulture. They could be Vulture levels. You know, you could have normal platforming levels where he's just shooting. He could call in airstrikes. He could do stim packs, you know. There's all sorts of stuff you can do.
Yeah, 2D side-scroller.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool. I like this discussion.
Yeah.
It makes me wish I could make games.
But alas, all good things must end. Coming to the end of our podcast here. Again, this has been Tim and Dane, and thanks for coming on, Shawn. I really appreciate it.
This is really fun.
Well, so to the listeners, thank you so much for listening to Name Your Game. We work on several other projects here at SharcTank.com. That's Shark with a C. We're a nonprofit, volunteer-driven gaming and geek culture site based in Seattle, Washington. We do local convention coverage, Let's Plays, tabletop strategy, and game reviews, among other things. Please like and subscribe if you want to support us in our work, and you can leave feedback through comments on YouTube, on our website, or you can email us at nyg@sharktank.com.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.